So how do you look at competition, IIMs, ISB, schools like MDI in Gurgaon? You still then would benchmark yourself against those placement numbers on website. You're comparing yourself to ISB, IIMs, etc. Yet you say that you don't kind of consider them as competition.
Right.
One of the criticisms that that is there in the market with Masters Union is that it's not an institution. It's like a startup factory.
There is still a huge gap between this kind of skill set that the industry requires as well as what is offered in the class.
Large tech, consumer tech, and fintech.
Hi and welcome to Strategy for GMAT. My name is Manan Puri and today I am at Masters Union School of Business. I'll be spending my day here talking to the current MBA students to understand first of all why they chose the B school in the first place, how their experience has been so far and what's more to look forward to. Then I'll be speaking with the faculty to understand how the curriculum is different from other B schools that they would have taught at or seen. And finally, I would speak with the career services team to understand how they are geared up for the toughest placement season ahead since their inception. This will be my day at Masters Union, where we'll help you figure out whether the school is the right choice for you or not, or whether the school is worth the hype. Let's check it out. So I'm now sitting with a bunch of cohort 4 students who started their MBA journey 5 months back. First of all, we'll definitely ask each one of them why they chose Masters Union and how their experience has been so far, and more importantly, for the benefit of the audience, what can be done better. So let's start without further ado. So Shreya, you joined Masters Union after some time at Microsoft. So what made you choose the school?
Yeah, so basically, I was looking for a 1 year MBA course. I wanted to pivot into product space and product management space. So I was eyeing on a couple of B schools in UK as well, but due to the economic conditions, I took a stand that okay, let me not go out. So I was exploring options in India. So that's when I came across Masters Union. One thing that kind of stood apart was that my 4 years of experience that I come with, the way I have worked, my professional life was very structured. There's a lot of process, and even if I have some new ideas or innovation, it takes long time to kind of see it come to life. But here I felt it's like a very space playground where I can actually explore what I want to do and the way I want to do. Considering the outclass component, that was a major selling point for me because I can never imagine that I would have a drop shipping business or I could work in a consulting firm. So these were the major selling points for me, and I ended up here.
Okay. You come from consulting already. So what made you choose Masters Union?
So consulting, as you know already, like it has its challenges. I used to fly on Monday mornings and come back on Friday nights, rest 2 days at home, and then back at it again. So it was getting kind of hectic, kind of overwhelming. I had like a few burnouts as well. But I realized that after 4 years, I come from a background of architecture. I did my bachelor's in architecture. So I transitioned into consulting for infrastructure and sports. So sports was my main niche. I realized that there's more to learn and like there's more that I can contribute. I think sports is still a sector that's quite underutilized, and I thought an MBA would like aid me to like see more and like explore more in the sector.
What about you?
My name is Tushar. I come from a conventional middle class family where after undergraduation you have to do your MBA. Since 4 years I have been trying for MBA, wrote CAT, wrote NMAT, but never got through any of the B schools. But suddenly MUBAT happened, the exam for MU, and then joined here. The most exciting part of MU is off campus for me because I have traveled to Chandigarh, Jalandhar, and Gujarat for off campus. I have shot videos. I have been with the admin and management team to understand how actually a business work. Come from a consulting background. I have done consulting for a year, then moved to an edtech background as a GTM manager.
Okay.
Now moving to a space of product. And I have got an internship with MU, building MU AI for Masters Union. So it's a pretty journey for me.
All right. So considering you mentioned, the step-by-step SOP that your family asked you to follow. So 2025 wedding bells then?
Not necessarily, not.
Just joking. Okay.
But for the next 2-3 years, I'm gonna build my
Yeah, of
venture,
course.
move into product space. Let's see what
Sure.
happens.
What about you, Aditi?
Yeah, so I've actually worked for 2 years. I graduated from Gargi, then I joined a hedge fund, PE Shaw, which was very exciting. It was a dream role for me, honestly, being on the buy side right after graduating. It was very exciting, but then I felt like I wanted to create more of an impact on the business bottom line, and I really wanted to get hands on. So I joined my family business, which was also in real estate.
Okay.
So I've been on the alternative investment space all
Okay.
my life.
Interesting.
And then MU came around. I heard about how they have a focus on venture capital startups. Again, the alternatives and investment space, which I really love. And it combines my love of investing and startups. So, yeah, just when I saw the school focus on venture capital, I was like, this is the place that I need to be.
Right. So venture capital product, you want to continue in consulting?
No, not really consulting, but something in the sports space. I'm still exploring what
Okay,
options.
okay. But generally, do you guys feel that Masters Union is good majorly for the, non-traditional or tech-focused kind of roles and not so much consulting, investment banking, etc.? Is that the impression at least that you guys get?
I don't think so. There is a element of like startup-y and like tech-enabled things, but it's not limited to it.
Okay.
There are still consulting firms that come to this so-called like the top universities hiring from here. So they are seeing a potential in the students here in the consulting space as well, and I think not just the tech is what I want to say.
Fair, fair.
Add on to that. So,
Yeah.
like this semester, we had a class with Mr. Thomas Guruvilla. He's a partner at Arthur D. Little. And, we have lots of professors like that from the traditional consulting, traditional business spaces come and take classes like that. And to be honest, it's one of the most exciting classes that we've taken till now in our time at MU. So, there is a focus on startups and tech, but we definitely have a good mix of consulting and traditional business background.
Fair enough. And overall, how the experience has been so far. Like you mentioned, drop shipping, all of you guys did, and that's the outclass experience. In class, what has been the best experience so far?
As I told you, I was a GTM manager with Unacademy before this, but whatever GTM activities I have done at Unacademy versus what we have learned here in marketing are two different things. We actually learned marketing in our marketing strategy classes where we understood, how segmentation happens, how psychographic behaviors are coming into place. So yeah, it was a pretty good journey. It is a pretty good journey in terms of in class. We have, as she mentioned, great faculties coming in.
Yeah, so adding on to what Tushar said, the best part for me was in class, the core subjects that we learn in every term, we actually apply it in the outclass for that particular term. Like, for example, the first term we had dropshipping as our outclass. So, in class core subjects were basics of marketing, finance, and accounts. So, in dropshipping, we actually built a brand. We actually chose the niche customers who are our target customers. So, marketing concepts we applied. We had to maintain a balance sheet, we had to maintain financial statements, and the entire report had to be given about the business. So this applicability of what we learn in class and out class, that kind of completes the circle of learning, especially for me. So I think this was my best part about learning experience in Masters Unit.
Sure, sure. What about you?
So, talking specifically about the in class, I think I come from a background of architecture. I've been an architect myself, so no tech background. So, I think it's really good that they have like industry practitioners who are doing like really good in tech, coming and teaching tech. So, I took the course for R programming, I took no code, and a couple of others. So that I have an understanding if I go into a tech role where which I wouldn't be like making the tech, but like if I have to communicate to the developers or whatever, so it's a good base point to like touch upon, and it like completes the whole thing.
Makes sense, makes sense. And by and large, most people would look at placements as a major criteria, and especially in a market such as this, and internships, I guess, you guys have just started. So, what kind of career support that you're getting from the team, especially, in the market? And first, that's question one. Or on the flip side, do you even care about the market right now, and they're just doing it what they're supposed to do?
So I'll take your second question first. Definitely at Masters Union, they don't place career and placement as the highest priority. You are encouraged to learn, to develop, and enjoy the process of getting placed.
Okay.
So they say like, if you're doing drop shipping, you're learning the art of sales. If you're doing, say, a VIP program, you're learning pitching, ideation, prototyping, all of that. So they encourage us to take, part in all of these activities and develop the skills that will eventually help us get placed. But they don't necessarily place the highest priority on placements. Now, for your second question, in terms of the career support we're getting, there is extensive career support from the careers team. So they actually organize these classes called practicums, wherein we have an industry expert come in and take us from 0 to 100 for that industry.
Okay.
So we're allowed to sign up for 2 practicums. I've personally signed up for VC and PE.
Okay.
But we also have practicums in, like, say, marketing and supply chain and data. So you can choose which one you're interested in. And then, like, post class, we have these practicums wherein we do assignments, we do lectures, wherein we get an idea of the industry. So that's the kind of career support. I think maybe Tushar can add on to it.
Dig even more deeper, they have classes for resume building. We go for practicums for resume building. We go classes for portfolio building. Currently, we are creating our own portfolio. Industry specific portfolios we are creating. Let's say she wants to enter into a VC firm. She's converting her standard portfolio in terms of, let's say, VC standards, industry, what's happening in the industry. I have to enter into a PM role, right? So I've created my portfolio in terms of entire PM journey के हिसाब से ideation, prototypes. I've created my portfolio in terms of an MVP, right? So this is how we create a portfolio here.
You become the product.
Yeah,
effectively.
I become the product.
Yeah, I think career support, as in the practicums that we have. So we've also got like an art on how to negotiate a salary. Okay, how to like sit in a GD. So like industry leaders like come in and like people who have this experience and who've been doing the consulting for this, they come and teach like all throughout the interview process how it's to be done for like. For a lot of people, that isn't a priority because they're focusing on building their brand, they're building their startup or whatever. But even if you're doing that, it's good to know how the industry works.
Fair enough.
Also, so just giving you a slice of how placements have been so far with Masters and in last 5 months. So I was shortlisted for Kearney and ServiceNow both. So as soon as I got the shortlist, we had mock calls scheduled. There's something called as Get Prepped, where we can talk to mentors from that particular domain. We can schedule calls with them, understand the domain, also have some peer mock interviews, case preps, and all of that. So this is also a part of career support that
Fair.
Masters Union kind of gives.
Okay,
Sound.
just adding on to this one last point. So, since the college is not placing careers as the highest priority, you're allowed to opt out if you don't want to. If you're serious about building your venture, you can just focus on building your venture. Or if there's anything else that you want to pursue, if the careers team sees that you're dedicated enough, they allow you to opt out of these practicums and careers activities.
Sure. Sounds good. So, what do you guys do outside work? Or outside classes, outside the stuff that you've been, working on?
So we spoke about drop shipping. Recently, in term 2, we've taken on consulting challenges, creator content creation challenge. So like some of us are literally building our own YouTube channels, Instagram channels. And for me personally, I'm working with somebody who's a partner at Peak 15 Ventures.
Okay.
So I'm working with her on building a research thesis around hair extensions and wigs market in India.
Nice. Interesting.
Yeah. So we might actually build a venture around it in the next term. in
Very
VIP.
interesting.
Yeah.
And what do you guys do for fun? This sounds fun already, but what do you guys do generally? Yeah.
We have cricket team, we have sports team, we have frisbee team, we have football team. So as and when whoever likes to play that sport, we go out and we play that sport. Talking about me, I go on drives रात को after dinner
Okay.
alone, akele, ice cream for ice cream. So I go around Gurgaon, come back home, do my assignments, and I sleep.
Okay.
I think the best thing of the campus being in Gurgaon is the liquor's cheap. The cheapest. So yeah, I think that covers everything that we're doing after like college.
Interesting.
Yeah, and even the hostel aspect is very nice. We have parties there, we have get-togethers there, we have stand-up nights, we have random music jamming sessions. Even in the campus, we have cricket screening, World Cup screening,
Yeah.
so all of that. So
The World Cup.
that's
Yeah.
that.
Don't talk about the World Cup. Okay. Okay, sounds good. And what can be done better? Like in terms of your expectation, you would have had a mental picture of, this is how my MBA journey would look like. What's missing? What can be done better by the school or your, it can be around any aspect that you would have seen?
Okay, so personally for me, it's bittersweet, good and bad. So what I feel is the structure that it's there since it's a startup. So everybody is kind of learning every day and trying to improve things. So that is the downside of it, but even the upside as well, because the moment we give the feedback, it immediately kind of reflects.
Okay.
So iterations are more, but definitely progressing in a better way. So that is something I feel. I mean, it's bittersweet.
I mean, that would be the case with any, teething issues we'll have with any new brand that you're coming in
so
with.
that is what I feel.
So fair enough. What
Yeah.
about you?
I think it's fairly accessible. I think I can't think of anything as such except that we're in a corporate space. So we have a limited space along with offices adjacent to us. We don't have a campus as such. We don't have the whole like football fields and cricket fields and whatever that at our disposal that we can just go to at whim. Even though we have partnerships with sports facilities that we can drive to and go and like play and whatever, and that is covered by Masters Union. But I think that would have been a good addition. As she said, it's bittersweet. I think the startup-y culture that we have here, if I have a problem, I can directly go to the founder. He's accessible at all times. He even comes to play with us, sports and whatever. So it's quite a dynamic culture here.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, they have already covered all the points, but coming from a B school, MBA school, uh, time management is a constraint for me. I'm still learning time management since I have tons of things on my plate. So I am learning from these guys, founders, what admin team is actually helping us to manage all the time. I think a balance between personal and B school life can be helped.
So basically, what you're trying to say is, majorly it is so much to do because you have in class, out class in a particular term. It's difficult to manage a balance effectively. So do you guys get time to like reflect upon what you've learned, or you'll do it at the end of the program itself?
I think that is a pain point that you've touched on. So definitely, since it's a 1 year MBA program, it's very hectic. We are occupied, I think, from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. every day, which means that there is less time to reflect on. But I think since you're doing so much, you learn how to prioritize. Like you become very good at saying, okay, this is what I want to get done today. I'm just gonna sit down, get it done, be done with it.
Sure.
That's
This
my
will reflect us in the coming years.
Yeah.
We have learned many things
Yeah.
already.
Like, from experience, I can tell you after your MBA is done, first 15 days will be like a void.
Right.
And you'll feel like they have nothing to do. So that will happen. So switching gears to people who are looking at, Masters Union as a potential option for their MBA journey, what would be your message to them as they're looking to apply? What should they think about? What should they not think about? Or around those lines?
I think if your entire aim is to get a job, I think Masters Union should not be on top of your priority list. If you're more into like learning like the trades of the industry, if you're into starting your own brand, or if you want to like if you have your own brand, if you want to better it, learn more stuff, I think this is a good place.
Eventually you will be placed, but if you have to come with a startup mindset कि हाँ मुझे अपना venture बनाना, I have to clear my things out of my startup, I have to clean my things there, whatever has been done bad. Eventually you will be placed. That's not an issue, but yeah.
And I think if you're just looking at MBA as like a break from work,
It
then
would be.
Masters Union is definitely not for you.
No, MBA is that way. Yeah, final thoughts from you.
So if you're very dedicated that you want to do a startup or something like that, right? So I think this is the place because you get all the resources and the CXO sessions, the networking. I mean, it's at a very large scale. Also, second point is like let's say there are people who don't know exactly what domain they want to get into, right? So if you actually come here, you can have a slice of everything, taste everything, and then kind of make sure what is your calling, and then naturally
Sounds good.
drift towards that.
All right, cool. Thank you so much, guys. This was very helpful. I'm sure the applicants and aspirants would get a clearer picture in terms of what to expect here. So all the best, and whichever field, whichever initiative that you're taking. So my best wishes with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now I am with Dr. Nandini, who has been with Masters Union since its inception. She's heading academics right now, and she will talk about the student quality, what is the focus of the teaching and curriculum here, specifically from the academic side, and a lot of other things. Thank you so much, Dr. Nandini, for taking your time.
It's a pleasure.
Great. So you, I'm sure, had offers from a lot of other places, once you completed your PhD. So what made you choose Masters Union in the first place? New brand and everything.
Yeah, I think you and my dad, same question to begin with. But I think I was really sold on the idea from the very beginning. I have been associated with really big brands, globally for management education. And oftentimes I would realize that while we are trying to optimize classes there is still a huge gap between this kind of skill set that the industry requires as well as what is offered in the class. So that mismatch of skill, I think, was one of the places where I, as a faculty, decided to change my courses. And then I got this offer where somebody was telling me that, hey, listen, we're going to redesign the entire curriculum. We're going to reinvent the wheel on how in fact, the vision of a degree is supposed to be looked at. We're going to be a very skill-driven, industry-led program. So I think in the beginning, that was the most exciting bit. Once I joined, then working with the team, interacting with the students, I just could never leave.
Awesome. So you've, as you said, you've been a part of other institutions who are acad focused, and then there is a separate element of career services development there. Here it is like fused. For every classroom activity, there is a drop shipping activity or something out class that is happening. So from a curriculum standpoint, from an academic side, is this any different, and how is it different versus other B schools that you would have worked at?
Right. So I don't know if you've ever come across this idea, but typically how a course is designed, it starts off with looking at what are the objectives that the entire program needs to meet. So if somebody has an MBA, what are the kind of key learning goals that the student needs to meet? After that, you come to a subdomain. So if somebody says that I want to do finance, what are the key things that you need to learn during, for finance? And then comes to a course where you say, hey, listen, this is a accounting primer course. What are the things that a student needs to learn? So that is like the waterfall strategy that is followed to design the course. However, there has to be an outwards, thing as well, where you're saying, okay, fine, you've taught the student all of these things. Now let me test this student whether the students also understood what we are trying to teach them. Right? And I think that is the key gap between some of the other schools in here, because all of these outclass activities that we are doing, they are nothing but the test of skill. And it's like a low risk test of the skill, right? The student can fail in a safe environment. That's sometimes the only true way to learn. You only learn once you start doing things, and there is tremendous learning that can happen from your peers. There is tremendous learning that can happen when you fail. There is tremendous learning that can happen when you start to apply things, right? Not just a pen and paper examination. So I think that amalgamation is what is important here. I think we're equally academically focused. However, just in terms of evaluating that academics, we've been using some alternate, techniques and methodologies, which are more focused around learning by doing.
Makes sense. So basically the concepts that you would teach would be no different from, any other school, and how you would teach them, but then you take it a notch up by the practical application and of course evaluation, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, technically statistics remains the same, right? I don't think that changes. Data remains the same. What you can do with data remains the same. All of these principles remain the same. A GTM strategy is still a GTM strategy and has a few steps, there's science to it. It's not art, it's science, right? And therefore those things remain the same. But yet, even though GTM is taught across B schools, still you find that a lot of students who graduate out of a B school are unable to formulate a GTM strategy properly. What's the reason for that? That's when you needed to dig deeper and, determine that while they've learned the concept, they don't exactly know how to apply it in a very dynamic, ever-changing ecosystem. And I think that's what we're trying to do.
Makes sense. And you've been with the institutions right from the start, from cohort 1 to now cohort 5. So what is the evolution from a student mindset perspective that you've seen over the past few years? And then at an institutional level, what are the things that have changed?
Right. There's a lot that has changed, a lot to unravel in that question. I think cohort one were the risk takers.
Yeah.
Cohort one was students who were really smart, very structured thought processes, and they had a much deeper understanding of things. And I think year on year we've tried to maintain the same level. We've actually upped the level every single year. I think we've started attracting the same kind of students who are aligned with us in this philosophy of trying to reinvent the wheel, of trying to learn by doing these exercises. People now come here because they're more attracted to the outclass curriculum than they are to the in-class curriculum, right? And I think that has been one of our key changes in terms of student quality, and this that over the years more and more students who are already aligned with the philosophy are here. Like in the first cohort when we began, we really had to sell the philosophy to the students that what we're doing is right for you. What we're doing is going to be beneficial to you. Now we don't have to do that anymore actually, right? Our students come and fight with us if they have to write an exam and they're like, why am I being evaluated like this and not like that? So I think that has been one of the biggest changes. At an institutional level, I mean, we've grown tremendously in terms of employees also, but also we've every year tried to make this outclass curriculum and this in-class curriculum much better. So for example, in the beginning, we were very first order thinking around around these outclass activities, but then year on year, we've started to go speak with VCs, speak with entrepreneurs, take their thoughts on how we can make this process better, try to understand where there could be a gap that a masterclass can fill, which kind of mixers with the industry can the students do that will enhance their learning. All of those things, I think we're still working. It's of course work in progress as it should always be, but I think we've come a really long way in sort of cementifying this curriculum now with very clear learning objectives, with very clear agendas for every single day that the student is here at Masters Union.
Do you think, I was talking to students, right? Few of them felt it's too much to do, right, in a single day or a year. Do you also feel the same way while designing it?
I think we oftentimes underestimate the amount of things that we can do in a year. On a day-to-day basis, it can sometimes feel overwhelming, but so does work, right? The whole idea is to emulate your working environment. Of course, there are going to be stressful days. There are going to be long and hard days at work. And maybe just hard days here are trying to replicate that same pressure that you may feel. And I think in the larger scheme of things, 16 months, I don't think we're trying to ask them to do too much. I think it's just the right optimal amount. It is, of course, higher than most B schools, but it's still very optimally designed, I think.
Sounds good. And, looking at what are the challenges that you feel, what sort of stuff is not going well?
From a student standpoint or from, I think from a student standpoint, I think we're still missing the mark a little bit on this idea wherein we are saying that, you learn the skill and the job will follow.
Yeah.
There has to be a mindset shift that is required from career focus to skill focus. And I do see that year on year we've done better with that, but I think we still are supposed to go a little bit more in that direction. I think another thing that I wish we could have done, which we have not been able to do so far, but hoping, for C5 we can do that, is to create more entrepreneurs right now. We are running this excellent outclass program, which is the venture initiation program. Wherein you're supposed to develop your own startup idea, work on the MVP, work on the GTM strategy, etc. But we are still not creating enough entrepreneurs, in the market. So I think that is something that has been a challenge for me. I would have wished for that number to be much higher by now. But here's hoping we maybe need to do more work on that accord. And I think logistically, I think it was easier for us to get really good quality instructors and masters in 2020. When we had a smaller cohort, we could give that experience to every single student. But right now, with limitations on the master's time as well, somehow we sometimes have to skip a few students out, and that it's a challenge that I've been trying to manage.
I think that will continue anyway because
Yeah, I
gang
mean,
of
maybe
time.
maybe we need to find that many more masters.
Correct. Makes sense. But your first point that it should be skill focused and not, outcome focused that way. It's maybe the need of the market itself, right? If you focus only on the skills, placements usually don't come. They have to be brought in, at least in the India market, right?
Yeah, I think that's a larger conversation. Of course, that conversation goes beyond Masters Union.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to another somebody who heads the career development in another very big B school in India, and I was just trying to unravel the same piece there, where I asked him that, why is it that in the West there are colleges that really don't focus so much on placements? They actually don't do the kind of hand holding
Yeah.
that we do. They don't do the kind of like a sales rep doesn't go to organizations and ask them to come hire from their college. And yet students feel absolutely confident spending 10 times more money than they are spending
Yeah.
here to do an MBA from that school. And I have cousins who've also done that. But when it comes to the Indian context, we are always like, मतलब
Placement चाहिए.
placement तो चाहिए ही, placement कैसे नहीं दोगे? So I think that's more a mindset shift that is required throughout I think throughout the country, where we start to look at education as not something that is the outcome for the education cannot be the certificate, it cannot be the degree, and it definitely cannot be the job.
Yeah.
It has to be how it changes you and the skills that it provides for you, so that when you go in the industry, you speak for itself. So the degree and the brand doesn't matter, but at the same time you're so skilled that everybody wants to hire you,
Yeah.
rather than the other way around. So I think that's a mindset shift that we require, and it goes beyond business education, it goes beyond Masters Union.
Correct. And I think you guys are trying to do it at your own levels, but hopefully
Yeah.
it should improve overall. Cool. Any message for the people who are now looking at, let's say, evaluating other B schools, IIMs, ISB versus Masters Union right now? What would you like to tell them as they go through this evaluation process?
I think it's those schools are also great fits for certain people. We are a good fit for a certain type of people. Try to find where you will match the best. Which classroom do you think will optimize your learning? Is it a classroom that is a finance heavy program? Is it a classroom that is more oriented towards entrepreneurship that you think you're going to do well? Would you rather be in a classroom where there are a lot of experienced folks, or would you want to be in a classroom that is lesser, maybe fresher, more freshers? Try to look at it from this multifaceted sort of approach. Don't look at just one placement number, don't look at just one brand number, because I think those things will wear off in a year or two once you finish your MBA. But all of these other learnings that come on a day-to-day basis with your team members, from your peers, they will not wear off. So maybe focus on which classroom do you think will optimize your learning, and choose that classroom.
Sounds good. Great. Thank you so much for your time. Great points. I'm sure the aspirants will get a view in terms of what your intent is, at least as a school and from an academic slash outclass activity standpoint. So all the best for this cohort and the
Thank you.
next. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So right now I'm with the people who get you placed and have all the money. We will be talking to the career services team in terms of how they prepare you for the entire placement cycle, and more importantly, how are they geared up for this year's cycle, which is probably the most challenging in Masters Union's history so far. So thank you, Nishant and Anurag, for joining.
Thank you.
So first question, what's the process of, in terms of getting people placement ready versus other B schools? Because in general, the curriculum is different that we have heard, so far that I've talked to people, that there is drop shipping, there is outclass activities. Is the career services bit any different from other schools, or that part at least is consistent?
Absolutely. I think that part, has a lot of differentiating factors. And at Masters Union, actually, we have thought about everything, differently right from the ground up. So likewise for career services as well, that stands true. So we follow, there is not one approach that we just follow blindly. So the first one is we have a very inside out approach. So unlike other B schools where you typically get, in a week's time, they wrap up the entire placement cycle, and there is a huge rush of companies with different roles. The students actually do not get a lot of say and a lot of choice, and it is done in a very rushed manner. Unlike Masters Union, where we have a very inside-out approach, we very carefully curate the professional journey for each and every student by understanding their key motivators, where they really aspire to, what are the domains that they really want to get into.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time. The entire career services team spends a lot of time doing their exercises, interviewing each and every student for a in a detailed manner, and understanding their career aspirations, their journey in the past, their professional journeys. What if they would like to pivot? What if they would like to level up? In the same roles that they have held before. So there is a very detailed analysis of that. Once that is done, we then reach out. Our reach out efforts are based on that actually.
Okay.
So we get a very sort of a cumulative graph as to let's say if we have a set of students who would like to explore founder's office or a chief of staff role. What percentage do we have?
Sure.
How well their career experience, their experiences, and their professional journey thus far aligns with that role. Likewise with the other roles which Masters Union is typically known for, like product management, a lot of into consulting, a lot of into data science, so on and so forth.
Sure.
So I think to add on to Nishant's point, right, like you mentioned, so whenever a new batch comes in, right, within the first month or within the first couple of months, the whole careers team actually have a one-on-one discussion with each and every student, right? Because we understand each of them come, from a different background, come with a different skill set, right? So that actually helps us know the batch better in some way and helps us guide them in what can be a good future path for them.
Sure.
Right? Because some of them come with their own aspirations, right? With their own expectations, which may or may not be right going forward, right? To show them that, mirror that, okay, this is where you're coming from. And this is where we feel, because we come with a lot of experience, we feel you would be a good fit, right? Might be in, say, finance or marketing or operations, right? So that is one thing. In addition to that, we have got a lot of different practicums and last mile prep, right, which happens through the careers team, which again helps them know each and every domain, right?
Sure.
So I remember from my MDI days, right, when I was doing my MBA, that when I, went into an MBA, so I was clueless as to where I need to go, right? And a lot of these folks are also, although they are much more informed now, right?
Yeah.
They know what to expect from Masters Union, right? But to just give them that direction, I think it helps them in, just taking that, next step and preparing their whole journey when they are at Masters Union to actually achieve that. So
Makes
I
sense.
think that helps them a lot.
So one is an individualized approach in terms
Yeah.
of finding their niche and then going out in the market to scout for those roles. How do you prepare them for those roles?
So like I was mentioning, right? So once a student decides that, okay, I want to go into, say, finance, or I want to go into a VC firm, right? So we have different practicums where the business leaders themselves, who have been in the industry for a decade or more than that, they themselves come and take them through that
Sure.
proper JD or course. Like suppose if I take an example of founder's office role, right? So it was quite unheard of. Like I didn't hear about a founder's office or a chief of staff at my time when I was doing my MBA, right? So for that, a lot of these folks actually don't know what to expect when they go into chief of staff or founder's office, right? So we have got someone who have been working in founder's office or chief of staff from last decade, and they coming and actually going through the JD in each of these practicums, which is of say 1 hour, 1.5 hour, multiple sessions. And they actually tell the students, okay, this is what the JD entitled, this is what you have to do when you come into this role, this is what the expectation is, and this is how you prepare for this role.
Yeah.
Or when you're an MBA, this is the skill set which you need to, gain so that it helps you crack this role and, get you into a startup or any of the companies
Sure.
which are hiring for that
Sure,
kind of
sure.
role. In addition to that, we have got last mile prep, where like initially Nishant was mentioning that we don't have day zero, day one, day two, right? So we do understand we have got legacy companies who generally follows day zero, day one across B schools, right? And there are a lot of students who want to go into legacy companies, right? But there are other set of students who basically just want to explore maybe in a startup world or a different world, right? So again, for us as a career services team, right, when we know that what kind of students are coming, right, and when we do that one-on-one, we get to know that okay, these are the kind of profiles we have. So we try to then go and approach the companies which basically matches that student to the company, right? So again, that basically helps the company as well because they are getting the right set of students, and that actually helps the student, getting their aspirations as well fulfilled. So it is a very customized and individualized, approach of, getting them a job.
So it's a matter of, matching the skill set, what the industry requires or what an organization or a particular domain requires. Handpicking that skill set and integrating that into a candidate. Right from selection of subjects to the preparatory aspect which Anurag just mentioned about, all of that combined together really prepares them well to get into that role.
So the constant mentoring happens.
Absolutely. In addition to this, they're also assigned mentors. So we have practicums, we have last mile preps. We also assign mentors which are, which come from specific domains. So and industry as well. So if somebody wants to get into a founder's office, we'll have like somebody, if they are targeting a particular industry, let's say EV, we have, Naveen Munjal, who is one of Pratham's close, friend, and we have a close association. So he takes up, the mentorship sessions with the students. Likewise, we have other set of leaders who again, pair with the students as in a mentor-mentee relationship, and that journey goes along till the entire duration till they get placed.
Makes sense.
I think so. Just to add on, I think one thing which I have to mention is this. So this last year, right, the placement report I think is out and everyone can see it now. So we got close to 5 to 6 VCs who have come and recruited from us. And as far as I know, VCs generally don't go to any B schools and recruit, and in this such a large 5, 6 in such a large numbers, right? So again, I think this approach of supporting and guiding the students basically help. We have got one of the mentors in the form of Jivraj, right, who basically comes and mentors the students in the VC world, and he has been running his own podcast and interacting with a lot of VCs. So I think that just gives the students the direction as to what to expect if they want to crack that VC road, and then they go a step ahead and do that hustle and grind, right, of maybe creating a very unique presentation, showcasing their skills, or maybe just finding a problem which VC world is facing and coming up with a recommendation, right? Which generally we help them then showcase the VC. Let's see, this is what our students are all about, and then they are helping, they are hustling and grinding, right? And then they also see that okay, they are doing something different, they are actually interested, right? And it's a perfect match, and then they are also interested in actually maybe just interacting with them, right? And then it just goes on one step, next step, they like it and it moves forward.
So internships are ongoing, can you share any insights in terms of the outcomes that have happened, the kind of companies that have come in, and maybe the numbers as well so far?
Absolutely. I think, so as we mentioned earlier that the consulting companies are the first ones, or the legacy companies are the first ones who visit institutions like ours and others as well in the initial years, in the initial months of the program. So we have had like the MBBs who have already visited us. We have the other set of consulting companies as well, apart from the MBBs in the top tier league only, who have visited and finalized. Apart from MBBs, we have had Carney, we have had Accenture, we have Takshila, Avalon, Accuvon, all of these companies visiting us and picking up the students for internships.
In addition, I think other industries, Pernod Ricard has come for the first time and recruited, and they were really happy. The feedback was that you got such a brilliant, bunch of folks that why we didn't visit before.
So that's my follow-up question. This year probably the placements will be tough, based on what we are seeing so far. Anything different that you guys are doing around that?
So I think, so last year was also difficult, right? So we understand that, the economic downturn is going on, right? Might go on for a few months as well. But again, like we were mentioning before, that our students come with that rigor and hustle, right? Of working and then grinding through these terms and then succeeding, right? You'll be astonished to know that almost I think 25-30 of our students from the previous batch have actually got the offer off campus, right? So again, they were not dependent on campus to roll them offer, which generally happens of a lot of international institutes as well, right? So I think it's the student, the batch which is coming, right, who are again phenomenal in every approach, right? Most of them are already running their own businesses and coming, right, entrepreneurs and all. Right, so they know what to expect, what skills to gain in this year, and obviously from a career services point of view, so we already have a relationship with a lot of institutes who have been hiring from last 2-3 years, right? So obviously they're gonna come and recruit this year as well. In addition to that, we are exploring a lot of new companies. Like I mentioned, Pernod Ricard came for the first time this year. Accenture came for the first time this year.
Sure.
So a lot of these companies, again, as and when placement report is out, the brand develops, a lot of names reaches. So again, all of these things matter. In addition to that, we are also exploring a lot of international placements as well.
Yeah.
Right. So last batch, a lot of first happens, right? Like I mentioned, VCs came and recruited, right? 2 international placements happened, right? One in Dubai, one was remote but working for a US company and earning in dollars. So I think same strategy we're going to apply, right? Again, we know what kind of profiles we have, try to match them with the right companies.
The process stays the same, I think.
Yeah, I think also if you look at the statistics that we have in our placement report, we had like almost to the tune of 70 to 80% placements, the students getting into large tech, consumer tech, and fintech.
Yeah.
These are the 3 industries where the maximum pool of the students have gotten placed. So I think these data points also throw a lot of light, and we would like to reflect upon that and take those cues when we actually plan and prepare for the upcoming batch.
Makes sense.
Because no matter how much ever worse the market conditions are, the data speaks for itself.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that way, this was about the industry segmentation or classification, whatever you want to call it. Likewise, there is a domain specific. Like we saw 20% students, almost like 1/5 of the batch, getting placed into founder's office or chief of staff roles. And that is not just the last batch. This happened
The previous batch as well.
previous batch as well. So this is a trend that we would certainly want to continue, maintain the that much of percentage there, or probably want to increase it because that is quite an influential role, and it takes a lot of effort to get into such roles. So I think yes, we would like to stick to a lot of things that we have been doing well in the past.
Yeah.
And with the recent placement report that has been launched, I think a lot of cues are there for us to follow and build upon that further. The market conditions are unpredictable, as we all know.
Yeah.
But I think we'll play accordingly and see how well we can gel with what the information what is available to us.
I think the important thing is just to obviously students to give them that confidence to believe in themselves, right, and go forward, because what we can do right is whatever in our hands, right? Whatever is happening in the market conditions is external factors. I think it's important that through their curriculum, through their grind, they just work on developing their skill sets and all, and I think it's just a matter of time, right,
things
for
improve.
placements and all.
Makes sense.
Definitely.
Cool. Great. That was a great conversation. Thank you so much, guys, for taking our time. I'm sure the aspirants would get a sense of what it's like, interacting with the career services team and the process. All the best for the season ahead. My best wishes, and I'm sure things will turn out well. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Manan.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
So right now I'm with the director of the PG program, Mahak. She joined last year and has been leading the program from the forefront. Thank you so much, Mahak, for joining us.
Thank you, Manan, for the invitation, and thanks for visiting the campus.
Sure. So much fun so far. So, you come in from a very diverse background.
Yeah.
You're an MBA yourself. So what made you choose Masters Union, especially a new brand like Masters Union here?
Lots of checklists I had, so I'll give a little bit of my own journey. Engineer from NSIT, started my career in Nomura, which is into banking. From there, worked in my family business, realized that I honestly need skills to upskill myself and to be
Yeah.
able to take better decisions. Was very fortunate to have been accepted to Stanford, so went to US, studied there for 2 years. Stanford is a place which will just, I think they have this entrepreneurship magic in the
Yeah,
air where
yeah.
they really, really want you to, upskill yourself and be ready to start up, to join a startup, etc. Was very sure that I want to start up and was very sure I want to do it back in India.
Okay.
Very bullish on India. I think I understand the customers here much better, etc. So came back, started my own education startup. It was called Uday. We scaled it a lot. We had like almost 400 full-time plus part-time employees and had raised significant funding upward of 14 million USD. During COVID was doing really, really well. I think it was like a COVID child in some way because it was online live learning for maths and English. Loved the education space because I think fundamentally I have seen how education has empowered me. Coming from a very middle class family to start with, at every stage I feel education has been this tool which has helped me go to the next step in my life. And I was like the first female and the second person ever to be admitted from my undergrad to Stanford Graduate School of
Interesting.
Business because they just don't take anyone below IITs.
Yeah,
I was
they don't,
a average 730 GMAT.
Yeah.
730 might sound great on paper, but Stanford's average class GMAT is 730.
Yes.
And Indian average is always at least 30 to 40 points
It's
above
higher,
the
yeah.
class GMAT. So all of these things happened, and unfortunately, because we were not able to get a good product market fit in our startup, we had to shut it down. After that, I was on a 4-month sabbatical, spoke to almost 50 founders across the country because like the minute people got to know that I'm available in the market and I'm looking out, there were so many people who reached out because they were building interesting things.
Correct.
And I had a long list of checklist that what is it that I want versus not. I was very sure that I want to first be in a space where I can see some impact. Education had been something I'd done and I'd like the space definitely. Second thing was that I wanted to do it with a founder who understands the problem statement well and knows how to solve it. So I think Pratham fit in really well in that framework. And I love operating. I mean, there was an option that I can go to the VC side of things, but I felt that I loved the idea of building something with like my time, and again didn't want to go to a late stage company because then that would have like a lot of exciting things would have already happened, and the changes I would have brought in would have been instrumental, like would have been very minor. But here I felt I have a chance to contribute to a brand which is sounding promising so far, and there's so much that we can do. And the vision that Pratham had for the college, it still blows me away, and I still feel very, very excited about it. So I continue to feel it was the right decision, and very, very thankful to be doing what I'm doing.
That's great. That's great. So you've joined last year.
Yeah.
What sort of evolution that you see within the year? I think a lot has changed since my last visit here
Sure.
for something else. So what sort of evolution has happened, in the last year or so?
So I would say Masters Union as a place, we consistently have that mindset that we work on a very iterative model where everything is about taking feedback and then executing on improving whatever needs to be improved. I joined as the director for placements when I joined. At that time, the things that I saw is that, we need further focus on ensuring that there's no cookie cutter approach, right? We wanted like everything is incredibly personalized, and students able to prepare for roles really well. It can happen across a period of 6 months almost because we have a rolling placement process. Then building deeper industry connects. So in this placement report, if you would look at it, we had Citibank, we had Aditya Birla Capital, we had Zepto. So a lot of new companies had experienced Masters Union for the first time. So a lot of relationship building with the industry, inviting these people on campus because ultimately if I go to them, I tell them what we're doing, it's very hard to imagine that something like this exists in the heart of Gurgaon. So just hosting like a lot of these fireside chats where it's not just like a monologue of these people coming and then you're sitting in the audience, but also like small AMA sessions, because the student feedback was that we want to interact with them at a more human level. Then we put together a moderating committee. So if you'll see last year, almost a lot of our podcasts were hosted by, say, Pratham, me, Swati. This year we had a moderating committee that everything should be student-led because ultimately, meri jitni upskilling honi thi in terms of, moderating these sessions is done. Then a lot of focus on even student experience side. Like I slowly transitioned also to lead the student experience. So the clubs, the number of activities that we've done in the first 6 months is almost 2x of what we did all of last year.
Okay.
So that kind of iterative approach that there should be more focus on student-run events where they're calling guests from different industries to the campus. Students have gone to Adani for a port visit. They went to Amul for a port visit, for a factory visit. So more like how do you have that off-campus experience where the student is going to that company, speaking with the leadership team of that company. So that's happening. So a lot of case studies, video case studies are coming out of it. Then another thing that has happened, like this time we're running our first MU case competition. So it's called Case Union.
Okay.
And we have 11 case competitions running on Unstop right now.
Okay.
Where we have more than 6,000 registrations already.
Wow.
So very excited to be hosting students from
Nice.
across different campuses to experience what we're building here. And now with my new work as the director for the PG program, trying to just get involved in the academics. How do we make the curriculum more hands-on? We already have a very hands-on curriculum, but how do we go even a step further? How do we structure our venture initiation program even further so that more and more students are able to learn by doing, and that's something we're focusing on.
Makes sense. And it's fairly new, and there are a lot of established B schools in the country, and effectively your talent pool is similar. They are picking out people from there itself. So how do you look at competition, IIMs, ISB, few schools like MDI in Gurgaon?
Sure.
So how do you look at competition? What are you doing differently versus those schools?
I think what we are trying to benchmark ourselves, or when every time we're thinking in the academics team, who should we benchmark against? It's against those top 10 Financial Times ranked business schools internationally.
Okay.
Because our vision is to be the first Indian business school to reach that global top 10.
Sure.
And it's not just a number or a ranking for me, right? What it really means is that are we delivering that level of rigor in our academics, in terms of our career outcomes, in terms of student experience, everything under the sun. So I would like to think that we're really focusing on creating that hands-on learning approach, the kind of CXOs that visit the campus. We recently had Deep Kalra come in, then the JP Morgan India head, Kaustav Kulkarni, he was here. Then we had someone like, we did a VC mixer where 100 plus VCs came on the campus to, just speak with students.
Yeah.
And so many students got their summer internships through that.
Yeah.
So it's that customized, approach to be able to get, what you want from the MBA program by inviting more and more industry leaders. And my hope is that this place becomes like a center point for everybody to innovate.
Yeah.
Industry should come here. They should know that there are people who can take up live projects.
Yeah.
In fact, this time again, we saw that our consulting garage was working really well. We were consulting smaller businesses earlier, like students were consulting dhaba walas, they were consulting coffee shops.
Okay.
But we were like, let's take it a notch up. We actually started consulting proper businesses. So there are students who are working with Microsoft. So they're doing live projects with Microsoft's product team. Then the students are doing live projects with Office Banao. They're doing live projects with actual startups. There are people who are working with Aether. There are people who are working with Rage Coffee. So that they're gaining that experience of what is it to really work on these challenges with real big companies.
Yeah, I think that's the major difference. Having graduated from a school in India and looking at a lot of students, the hands-on bit is a lot more versus other schools. Of course, they have their own merits.
Right.
Having said that, you still then would benchmark yourself against those placement numbers on website. You're comparing yourself to ISB, IIMs, etc. Yet you say that you don't kind of consider them as competition.
Right. So I'll agree with you on that. And I think for me, I see it as a necessary evil for at least a few years, if not sooner. I hate the excessive emphasis that in India we have on placement numbers. It's almost like we treat business schools as placement agencies. I like it or not. There is that sense ki, your student came out with 34 lakh now. Anybody would not want to go below that.
Yeah.
That's my average salary.
Yes.
That's not my fresher salary.
Yes.
That's not my less than 1 year person salary. Everybody is being taught the same thing, but what you take out of it is still up to you. So I agree that, we are putting that because that's what I think. I mean, if I don't put that, people will think that I'm not capable as a school to deliver it.
Yeah.
But the way I think about it is that placement is just an outcome.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the beginning of your career. It's not the end of your career. If मैं आपको बोलूँ मनन कि आपकी एक job तो अच्छी होगी उसके बाद, but you're not ready to either perform in that job or to get the next job, both ways you will not succeed in life.
True.
So मेरी एक campus placement being good does not solve everything.
Sure.
Right? What I want to solve for is, what am I really teaching my student during that time? Am I teaching him to build that winner's mindset, where he looks at a problem and is able to think about it? Is he able to get up from the ground every time he falls? Because I'm sure you've experienced this. I had to shut my startup. That we will fail in life. Failure is part of that journey. So am I building that mindset? Am I building that persistence? Am I building that courage to be able to take and dream of the undreamable?
Sure.
So if I'm doing all of that, मेरा placement number भी अच्छा होगा, right? Because overall, if I've created a great cake, it will taste good.
Yeah.
But we can't just focus on the taste of the cake, right?
Correct.
It can't just be about that placement number, because मेरा 34 lakh, 34 lakhs is not the same as maybe someone else's 34 lakh.
Yeah.
If you look at the diversity of where my students went in terms of VC offers that have come out, in terms of people taking founders office roles, it is not a cookie cutter approach.
It's not.
ऐसा नहीं है कि एक कंपनी में 10 लोग चले गए, right? So it's a diverse ecosystem that we're building, जहाँ पे future में, if you're starting up, you will have people who are experts in product, in marketing. They'll have experience across small startups, medium startups, large companies, MNCs, etc. So it's a very diverse placement outcome that comes out.
True.
Which is really what you wanted. I'll sit with every kid, or my team in the placements will sit with every student and asking you, तुझे क्या चाहिए?
Yeah.
Right? And then how can we help you empower and reach to that stage?
Correct. But I think overall, there's the impression that I've got throughout the day is startup focused, doing hands-on stuff and all that. But the traditional roles that usually come to B schools, like consulting, like investment banking, maybe some part of financial services, at least in your marketing or in general, the focus I felt was less. Is that the case?
So if you'll see, I take inputs from my student ki where do you want to be after, like what does successful MBA program in terms of just careers also look like, while I ask that for your personal growth also. So there'll be say 20-30% students who say that nahi, I want to go to the legacy companies, in which case I have a process for even the legacy companies, which is why we have consulting companies coming on campus. This time Accenture and Kearney came over and above your BCGs, Bains, McKinsey, etc. So we are also prepared and ready for that.
Okay.
So it's not like if you are targeting these big brands, legacy roles, or more traditional roles, we're not ready for it. In every way possible, we're ready for it.
Yeah, makes sense.
So the idea is to give everybody what they want, but at the same time to focus on the input, so that if you look at it, Stanford has a career cell. ठीक है? उसमें there are people who are going to guide you and mentor you, but वहाँ there's no day 0, day 1, ऐसा कि job आ रही है, सब लोग apply कर रहे हैं. None of that exists, Manan, and still the career outcome is insane.
Yeah.
Because bacha is ready by the end of that time, by the end of that MBA program, he is so good as a product that he can command whatever he wants in the market, and that's what we're targeting. That you should be empowered to succeed in life, to have that mindset where you are able to win.
Makes sense. And for the aspirants, what's your usual, let me put it this way, who should apply and who should not apply to Masters Union?
So I would say that we're a place for dreamers. We're a place for people, who are ready to question the status quo. And that's what we as a business school are also doing, right?
Yeah.
Everybody is questioning, how is this even possible?
Yeah.
And that too in the amount of time that we have achieved it in. So people who are ready to disrupt, people who are ready to build a lifelong learning mindset, all of those will thrive here. People who have leadership qualities, or who want to hone their leadership qualities, all of those will thrive here. What I would be a little worried about is someone who's coming with just a placement approach. I would say there are so many schools who do it better than us.
Yeah.
They have a structured day 0, day 1, day 2, done. 3 दिन में आप सब कुछ कर लोगे. तो अगर आपको वो करना है, तो maybe I'm not the best school, because that's not my focus. That's going to be an outcome, and वो भी बहुत अच्छा होगा हमारा.
Yeah.
That I'm not worried about. But at the same time, the process that we'll follow is where we will focus on your development so much more, where we'll care about that more. And then placement should come as an outcome automatically.
Yeah, makes sense. And one of the criticisms that that is there in the market with Masters Union is that it's not an institution. It's like a startup factory. It is, there's no campus, etc., etc., and the student experience gets impacted. So, what's your response to that?
I would think there is prioritization in life, and I would agree to all of those. Our campus is like this corporate park,
Yeah.
and while we have sports facilities, etc., हमने tie-ups किए हुए हैं, but it's not like the same as maybe everything on the campus. But what we're optimizing for in that case is that are you really deeply integrated with the industry? The number of CXO sessions and the kind of CXOs I'm able to bring in because of my location is giving them so much exposure. People are able to go and do live projects with Microsoft where once a week students go to their office for a complete day.
Yeah.
अब वो चीज़ अगर मेरा remote campus होगा, I can't let that happen now because that's going to be so much more difficult.
Yeah.
Then even in terms of, I don't know about student experience in terms of student life because we have 16, 17 clubs and committees, very, very well established. Like I mentioned, there is case competition that is happening, all fully organized by the students. We are not involved in that. We're just guiding the student.
Yeah.
They're bringing their sponsorships, they're organizing events on campus, etc. So I would like to think that we are capable of ensuring that your outside of class experience in terms of just your class camaraderie, etc. is also there.
Yeah.
We have hostel facility also. There's a shuttle that provides between the hostel and the campus. So again, we are still recreating that because I genuinely believe that that's a very critical part of your bonding within the class, etc. So you don't get everything. I don't think you get everything anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think I'm very, very candid about what we have versus what we don't.
Makes sense.
When I don't have something, I'll let you know कि यार ये possible नहीं है यहाँ पे. And if this is your priority, then don't come here.
Correct.
Which is also fine. मतलब, then they should know, like students should know what are they coming for. And if all the checklist or most of the checklist is getting met, then that's a good outcome. Additionally, I would say that at least when I was looking at schools outside, there was a lot of focus on attending, admission events, going to the campus to meet the admissions team, taking campus tours, etc. We are recreating that here as well.
Okay.
Where in a week you'll have at least 2-3 events where you can engage with either a current student, you can attend a class, or you can come for a mixer on campus, or you can do alumni discussion, etc. So we're trying that. There shouldn't be, like, nobody should feel ki, oh shit, I made the wrong decision, right? Because it's such an important decision.
Yeah.
It's going to be a brand that's going to stay on your resume forever and ever.
Absolutely.
You're investing time and money on it. So I would strongly advise that, if there's someone who wants to understand more about the Masters Union concept, our pedagogy, etc., please come to the campus or attend any of these webinars if you're not in around Delhi NCR. We do that at a very high frequency. So that could be a great way for you to learn more about us and hear from students, hear from faculty, hear from my team, etc. So that's totally possible.
Sounds good, yeah. I'll close with a question around the vision. You talked about right at the start, Pratham had a vision. So
correct.
What does this place look like in the next 10 years? Fast forward.
That's a very good question. I've actually thought about it a little bit here and there, but let me take a stab at it. I think this place is going to be a place where people come together with the most ambitious goals, and as an ecosystem, I have to find a way to be able to empower them and enable them. If I'm able to do that, that ambitious goal could be that I'm going to be the first entrepreneur on Mars. I'm just saying it it could be anything. Or, I want to, in Stanford, we had that activity, likho ki kya karna hai next 5 years mein. And there were people who would write that I want to be a billionaire. If you want to be a billionaire, then I should be able to empower you to become a billionaire.
Yeah.
So then as a campus, I want to make sure that I am providing support in terms of network, in terms of classes, in terms of outclass activities, and everything under the sun to open doors for my students for whatever they want to do next.
Sure.
And I want people who really think big. They're coming here because they have these big dreams. And these are going to be the change drivers for the society. Like, these are going to be people who are creating jobs. These are people who are going to lead Fortune 500 companies, etc. So I would feel that the talent that's going out of Masters Union is going to be extremely, extremely impactful in the society.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we'll see companies from Masters Union and students of Masters Union contributing to the GDP, contributing to the growth of the country, etc. I would think that I would feel happy about it.
Yeah, amen to that. Thank you so much for taking out time and all the best with this vision.
Thank you so much, Manan. Thank you for hosting me, and excited that you're here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So this was my day at Masters Union. I had a lot of fun interacting with everybody on campus, and I'm sure you would like that too in the video. Just a few closing remarks before we end this. When I was here in 2022 versus now, I feel the students are a lot more centered and a lot more at ease with the curriculum and what the school has to offer. It feels like the expectations on both sides are being matched, and I dare say Masters Union is slowly finding its tribe. Frankly, the curriculum is absolutely non-traditional. Every term you would have a practical assignment, whether it's a drop shipping project, building on your social media page, working at a startup, and of course the entire set of mentors who are teaching it. It's very, very different from a traditional program that you would see in the country. And frankly, those are the students they are trying to target going forward. They are not looking at students who are expecting a traditional MBA curriculum where there would be a classroom learning session for a few months, then there will be an internship, then they are looking at placements and so on and so forth. So it is a sort of different vibe that they're trying to create here. And frankly, it never felt like an MBA program to me. It felt like we never left the workplace. And that's what you would feel as a student here. Because A, you're in the heart of Gurgaon where a lot of companies are around you. You're not living on campus, unlike the usual schools where they are large and there are lush campuses and all that. So if the expectation is that, this is not the school for you. What it is effectively building the skills at the workplace so that from day one you hit the ground running. And the result effectively is slowly to be seen in the placement report as well. While you might argue and a lot of criticisms happened where numbers are fudged, etc., this time around I feel the placement report is a lot more transparent. Yes, they've gotten it audited and all that as well. But you can't deny the fact that they are tapping into the VC ecosystem as well, which a lot of other schools were not able to so far. So while you feel the school is looking at all sectors, etc., I do feel that they are a lot more about the startup ecosystem, building your own startups and working in them, or within tech. But beyond that, yes, there are a few consulting jobs also coming on campus like other schools. I would say this is not their USP so far. And if you're looking for traditional consulting type of roles or traditional, leadership programs, etc., then maybe this is not the right school. However, for everything else, this is the place to be, to my mind, because they are trying to do something very, very different in the Indian ecosystem. While they feel that their competition is not ISB, IIMs, etc., they are effectively vying for the same talent pool. So they have to play by that game of placements, comparing numbers, etc. And they would continue to do so, is what I felt. Overall, a very, very promising start that they've had over the past few years. And frankly, the fact that I say to a lot of people who are looking at new schools, they will be as invested in your success, whether it's placement, whether it's growth in your career, even as an alum, they would continue to do that for a longer time versus other schools. The long term still looks promising. Let's see how they end up in, let's say, 5, 10, 15 years down the line. But overall, the picture that I got was pretty cool. Yes, you might counter that they are doing a lot of marketing and it's over the top and all those things. But frankly, this is the day and age where if you're not out there, you're basically disappearing in the shadow of a lot of schools that are around. What I would recommend is, in case you're looking to apply, just go on campus and visit and have one of their tours. Talk to their alums, talk to their students, and you will get the right picture. Overall, this was a fun day for me. For more such videos, subscribe to our channel, Strategy for GMAT, and reach out to us in case you're looking at a free profile evaluation for any of the schools for your higher education. Thank you so much.